Hello and a very warm welcome to stage 2 of the Vuelta al Algarve 2017. It's the first mountaintop finish into the interior of the Algarve region in southern Portugal. 189.3 kilometers, leaving Lagoa on the coast and heading up to the highest point in the Algarve, Alto de Foia. It's a traditional stage finish and one that has two classified climbs before the final first category climb. This is one that the general classification riders, those who want to win overall after the 5 stages this week, have to be very careful as they go along with it. Well, I'm Rob Hatch, Brian Smith is alongside me. A quick recap of what's happened today because we're already inside the last 20 kilometres. It was a very fast start to the stage with an average of 44 kilometres per hour for the first 2 hours. 8 riders went away in the break. Edward Turns, the biggest name of all those, riding for Trek Segafredo. He was accompanied by Kenneth Van Bilsen, a former winner of the Junior Paris-Roubaix. Boev of the Russian Gazprom team was there. Van Kutem, who was in the break on day 1, out there as well, as was the Portuguese pro João Matias riding for LA. De Vos, the king of the mountains, out in there trying to get some more points today in his blue jersey. He's the young rider from Canada riding for Rally Cycling. And 2 riders from the same Boavista team, Gomez and Sanchez, right in the break. They've since all been swallowed up. There is a reduced peloton of the 196 that started the day, and we have 2 climbs to go before the finish. We're getting close to the top of the penultimate climb, Brian, and today we're looking at big names, aren't we? The likes of Dan Martin, maybe Luis Leon Sanchez, who won here last year.
Well, this stage is definitely, you know, the Queen stage. Is going to shape the general classification. Okay, we've got a time trial tomorrow, but yeah, you can't afford to lose anything at all with an out-and-back time trial. Okay, you've got a mountain top or a hilltop finish to finish the Vuelta al Algarve off, stage 5, but you know, it looks as if Quick Step Floors are on the front, and they're looking after Dan Martin. Dan Martin, one of the favourites to win the day's stage. Whether he'll go on to win the overall, he doesn't have the best time trial. But Katusha have also been there, and we talked about them yesterday, Rob. They have got plenty of options for a finish like this.
Well, Quick-Step, the team riding for Dan Martin, are actually in possession of the yellow jersey, or as they call it here in Portugal, the camisola amarela, the Portuguese equivalent of the maillot jaune, let's say. That's Fernando Gaviria, the Colombian rider who won the sprint 24 hours ago. It was a sprint in which Mark Cavendish didn't take part. He was acting as lead-out man, really, for Edvald Boasson-Hagen. Andre Greipel did. He was beaten, although he was a little unhappy about it, considering, at least he thought, but considered that Gaviria came off his line. But here, Quick-Step, quite obviously riding for their mountain riders and not for their sprinter, who, looking down, I can't see him in this group, not near the front of it anyway. No,
I don't think he'll be taking any part of this stage today. It is Dan Martin, the Irishman, sitting 4th wheel. Just behind him you see the red jerseys of Katusha right up there towards the front. I can say that De Vos of the Rally Cycling team, the King of the Mountains jersey, he did take the first climb of the day. It was a 3rd category climb, but we're not too far away from the top of the 2nd category climb.
And there's an attack on the left-hand side from one of the riders at Katusha to try and take the points. It's being combated straight away by the man at the front for Quick-Step. I think it's going to be a 1st, 2nd and 3rd to the Quick-Step rider. The rider from Katusha and the other Belgian as well. The rider who got out there for Quick-Step. Of course, we've had Enric Mas making his debut at this race this week, the young man from Mallorca. But there are lots of top riders. Dries Devenines has been riding well. Julien Vermote has been doing a lot of work on the front.
Looked like that was Enric Mas, the new Spanish kid on the block there.
From Mallorca.
Yeah, just decided that he wasn't going to allow the Katusha rider to take maximum points, and decided that he wanted to take the points. He's doing a lot of work at the front, maybe thinking of maybe trying to take a jersey in his first year of riding at World Tour in this Vuelta Algarve.
Yeah, he comes from the northeast of the island of Mallorca, from a little town called Arta, which is more famous for its sort of artisanal things and hippie culture. But if you go just outside the town, there's some rather steep climbs on. They're not long ones, but short ones, Brian.
Yeah, there's some difficult climbs there. So, yeah, it's a good bet for the future and a good rider for Quick-Step.
Enric Mas out there for Quick-Step. Tony Martin in Katusha colours, chasing down his former team, Quick-Step. A couple of Sky riders in there. Michał Kwiatkowski is one of them. 105 just in front of him. Salvatore Puccio, the Italian. Michał Gołaś working as well. Gianni Moscon. It's a talented Sky team at this Volta al Algarve. And we've got the final climb still to come. Final climb that lasts around 9 kilometers. So we're on a very short bit of up and down towards the final climb. Then there's one more descent. And after that, it is the final climb to the line. Sinamnik Mas just protecting Dan Martin there. Behind him, Puccio, the man we mentioned, the man in the middle for Sky. Is Michał Kwiatkowski, a former winner of this race. Lotto Soudal in the red. Stage 2 of 5, this in Portugal. That's Borges at the back in the pink for Manzana Bostobon, the Colombian team that we get to see riding on European roads this week at the Tour of the Algarve. 76 there for Dimension Data, Scott Thwaites. This is a group that is reducing all the time, Brian Smith, because the final 9 kilometres of this Alto de Foya goes up to 900 metres above sea level, the highest part of the Algarve. It's a well-known traditional stage finish here, but it's a bit of a big ring climb, isn't it? It's not the steepest of finishes.
There's not many climbs in this area that are steep, and that's why we're seeing a hard tempo being led by Quick Step at the front. And it's just about the pace going over these climbs. We'd kicked up towards the top of the second category climb, but the problem for the riders at the top of the final climb is the wind. It's really windy up top. It's exposed, as you say, it's the highest point in this area and the highest climb. So I predict it's going to be a fast pace, as we can see all the way to this climb and even up the climb, and it is a kind of big ring, small sprocket climb. And that's why we're seeing the Colombians are used to a bit steeper, longer climbs, but this pace at the front set by Quick Step is putting a lot of riders in trouble at the back of the peloton.
Well, one man who isn't towards the front of this group but is in this group was the winner 12 months ago on this stage, Luis Leon Sanchez, the Spaniard riding for the team from Kazakhstan, Astana. You'd expect him to be their leader overall for this race, given the fact that there is a big time trial tomorrow as well. There's some other good time trialists, other good climbers in that team, some support, Cataldo, Scarponi, Moser. Real good strong team as you go through Monchique. Again, not huge, high, mountainous and rugged area, but still full of forests and green areas. It's very pretty down here in the Algarve once you get away from the sort of, let's say, over-touristy towns on the coast. We started in Albufeira yesterday. Tomorrow will be in Sagres. That'll be for the 18-kilometre time trial. Climb starts with 9 kilometres to go, and the hardest part of the climb is right at the bottom, 9.6%, and I think you've got to battle and power through the first kilometre before it gets a little easier, and then perhaps the trains can help out.
Yes, long enough, and the peloton is shattered now. There's only about 50-60 riders in the front group, so they can afford to just kick it back a little bit. You can just see coming through the town now, and they'll soon be heading out. The first part, as you say, Rob, is the hardest, 9.6%. It lasts just under 1 kilometre, and the rest of it is between kind of 4, 5, 6% at maximum. But it is a tempo climb. They will hit it hard and race all the way up it. As last year, Luis Leon Sanchez took the victory from Geraint Thomas, so it'll be similar to that, but it does look as if the Quick Step are setting up nicely here at the front of the peloton with the Irishman Dan Martin at the front. Also got to be noted here the Sky are there. You mentioned Kwiatkowski, but sitting behind Kwiatkowski is the neo-pro Theo Gegenhardt.
And he likes going up hills, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's
even though he's from East London. Not too many hills in East London, but he's been around the world practicing for a while.
He's a specialist, and nice to see him up there, and a rider that might be given his opportunity today, as well as Kwiatkowski.
Looking down, back through the different groups. 52 there was Nuno Matos, one of the Portuguese riders riding for Movistar. 104 there for Sky's Michał Gołaś. And they're only just coming up to the intermediate sprint that we had.
Just a tempo, Rob, in the previous climb, the second category climb. You could be sitting, maybe 100. You've got to remember 197 riders in the race, and you could be sitting 100, 110th, and the wheel goes in front of you, and you've got to go a lot quicker to go with it, and all of a sudden it just snaps.
Just to put it in perspective, that intermediate sprint came with 30 kilometres still to go. 18 kilometres behind on the road there. You talked about the pace. It's changing, and we mentioned Luis Leon Sanchez. Look at those turquoise jerseys, just moving up to the front. We said that he would have protection, he would have a team around him. That is, of course, if he's on form, because the team is that versatile, like the Sky team you were talking about, and a couple of riders in Quick-Step, in that there are a couple of possible winners and leaders there. So it'd be interesting to see if they are riding for Luis Leon Sanchez or not. And you also talked about Katusha. Katusha still wearing those big red jerseys with the white K on their back. They were a Russian team. They're now a Swiss team this year. They've got a sort of United Nations multinational roster of riders from all over the world. Some of the best riders in the world with Tony Martin. They're moving up on the left-hand side, and their director sportif, the man in charge in the car, is the only rider to have won this stage finish twice. He's a Portuguese rider, José Azevedo. Won when he was racing for the Spanish Once team in 2000 and 2001. So Luis Leon Sanchez has a little carrot in front of him to become the second man to win twice on this climb. So a couple of little pointers before we get to it in 2.5 kilometres time. Beautiful weather today. 20 degrees out there.
Yeah, thankfully. I've been in this part of the world in February before in a training camp, and you can get some rain and slippery roads, but beautiful conditions today. 12 kilometres to go, 3 kilometres to the bottom of the climb. Only about 50 odd riders left. You can see the cars behind, which means that the next group is possibly over a minute behind, so no coming back. If you're not in this front group, you're not going to win today.
Those who are in the front group have to watch out for the tight turns. Bit of a pinch point there, looks to be successfully negotiated, thankfully. Here it is then, Alto de Foya, up to 900 metres, 9.1 kilometres long, average of 6.2%, climbing well over 5.5 metres, 567 to be precise. Quick step with 3 men left. Zdeněk Štýbar doing his work at the front, the Czech. It's all for Dan Martin, you suspect. He was good, wasn't he, in Valencia, Dan Martin?
Yes, all for Dan Martin, sitting third place. Štýbar at front, and then you get Mace, a very good climber. Just behind, you can see that you know, Sky are there with Puccio. Some gaps opening up just in the you know, around these corners and the steep parts, but as we get further up, the gradient eases a little bit, and there'll be a general regrouping.
Movement on the left-hand side, and again you talk about riders moving up, and there are little efforts that riders have to make, and on a climb, you know, any sort of effort, extra effort that you expend is going to put you in trouble.
I'll tell you what, Rob, this pace by Quick-Step is splitting out. Look at Tony Gallopin for Lotto Soudal. He's been distanced now. He came up, he was the person that came up on the right-hand side. This is a very difficult time for a lot of riders.
Maybe to compensate for Dan Martin. I'm not saying Dan Martin can't time trial, but he's certainly not as good as some of the other overall contenders in the time trial.
Well, he's looking to gain time, but I think first and foremost they're looking to just win. And this is absolutely an amazing ride. Štýbar has blasted everybody off the wheel.
It's Štýbar, Enric Mas and Daniel Martin. Daniel Martin from Ireland, of course. Born in Birmingham. And look at him go here. He's being towed to what is a wonderful position on the start of this climb.
It's like a team time trial now, just the 3 of them. They're not looking back. They know that it's all about pace, and a lot of riders behind cannot follow this pace. You've already seen Lotto Soudal just give up the wheel. Sky are also trying to chase back, but this is a magnificent performance here by Quick-Step, and can they go all the way to the finish? There's still 10 kilometres to go, and some riders trying to come across. I think this is Primož Roglič coming across for Lotto NL Jumbo, and one of the Sky riders also.
Roglič in the yellow and black, by the way, just getting onto the wheel. The 4th man on the left-hand side as you look at it now as the motorbike goes past. So Roglič has made it. But Dan Martin, by the way, is making his debut at this race. This is his Volta al Algarve debut. 5th in Valencia the other week, and not a bad way to start, is it? Just under 10 kilometres to go. 7 kilometres from the finish on the uphill Alto da Foia in the Algarve in southern Portugal. Second stage of 5, and we've had quite an attack off the front, a team time trial style attack, led by Zdeněk Štýbar, the former Czech champion and cyclocross superstar. He's now left it to Enric Mas, the 22-year-old Spaniard, all riding for the second man in blue there, Dan Martin, winner last year of the Tour of Valencia, monument winner on a few occasions as well, and one of the top riders in recent years. Just in conversation there with Enric Mas. Behind them, Primož Roglic in the yellow, Slovenian star who won a stage at the Giro d'Italia, and with them Michał Kwiatkowski, the former world champion who rides for Sky. 6 kilometres all uphill. Looking back to number 84 there, Tiago Machado, the best placed Portuguese rider for Katusha. He was being dropped, and Tish Benoit there, 41 at the back, red and black for Lotto. What an attack from Quick-Step that was, Brian. Štýbar, while we're away at the break, has dropped off. Enric Mas, he's a neo-pro here, riding at the front. Lots of responsibility already, but let me tell you that he excelled in the under-23 category last year. He won on Portuguese roads at the Volta ao Alentejo. He won the Tour de Savoie, Mont Blanc in France, which is, of course, a real indicator of somebody who can climb. He came in the top 4 in all but one stage there. Just the second ever Spanish rider to win that French event, and he was the second overall at the Tour of the Valle d'Aosta in the north of Italy. Again, a very mountainous region. He won the points jersey there. He's converting that under-23 talent to the professional ranks already in stage race number 1.
Yeah, straight up from under-23 ranks to
but it's a counter-attack, pardon me, from Primož Roglic.
Yeah, Roglic was looking back there, and you could see a large group coming up, and he wants to push for time. Another very good time trialist, and you know, won the Giro time trial last year, so he wants to push it out. And that attack by Roglic now, he takes with him Kwiatkowski and Dan Martin, means that Mas looks like his job is over, but there was a group trying to come across, and I think you can just see Mas as being a distance. Kwiatkowski, Roglic and Martin in front.
Well, Roglic in the middle there, the Slovenian, a former ski jumper, by the way, who had to retire from winter sports due to a nasty injury. Confidence was never the same after that. Took up biking to keep fit, and look where he's found himself. Dan Martin reacts with a little dig of his own in the blue there. It's Kwiatkowski in the black at on the right-hand side, pardon me. He's the Polish star riding for Team Sky, the British team. But Roglic in the middle, as another rider tries to come across, is a man to watch. And Roglic, remember, last year was third on this very stage in this race. This is where we discovered him.
Yeah, he knows this, as you say, a former Olympic, you know, ski jumper.
Now, Amaro Antunes, we saw this young man in the Tour of Valencia riding for W52, and if you think that jersey looks rather like a football team that you're used to watching in Portugal, FC Porto, that's because it is. W52 is also sponsored by FC Porto Football Club, and he's joined at the front. Antunes was up there not far away from Nairo Quintana when he won the mountain stage in Valencia the other week, so a man to watch as we look back at former winner of the overall in this race, Tony Martin, who'll be looking to limit his losses here and go for the time trial tomorrow.
Well, that's the thing, this group is now on to the, I would say, the kind of easier part of this climb. They're over the most difficult part on this main road, and it remains this way all the way up towards the finish. But I tell you what, Antunes has got some form at the moment, and finishing second in that stage with Kudus from Dimension Data in Valencia.
Only behind Nairo Quintana, the winner of the Tour of Spain, former winner of the Giro.
Exactly, but it's not over for this group behind. There's still some strong riders in that group. How much help will Antunes bring to the three riders in front? But they're working well together. The gap is still a matter of only about 10-15 seconds with 5 kilometres to go. So it could change, and this is the sort of terrain that's going to maybe suit Tony Martin a little bit better than the start of this climb.
One neo-pro to another. Antonio Pedrero there for Movistar, leading the chasing group up.
This is Castroviejo now, and that's what he was trying to do. Castroviejo, another good time trialist, Movistar. One is trying to do something in this race, so put his teammate in front, and he's trying to vault across this gap.
Luis Leon Sanchez trying to do the same as well. He's the bigger frame in the turquoise jersey there. Caja Rural have a man involved too. Well, Jonathan Castroviejo at this race last year suffered an awful crash and had to miss 4 months of the season. He was in sort of a back brace that immobilised him for 2 or 3 months before he could get on the bike as well. But he came back really well, didn't he? Because he took that bronze medal at the Time Trial World Championships, and he took the European Championship as well. As Antunes there is just forced to try and close the gap by Michał Kwiatkowski.
Yeah, Michał Kwiatkowski maybe making a mistake there. He wanted to try and entice Antunes through there. Antunes, no reason for him to work. He's only in a continental Portuguese team, and up against World Tour riders, let them do all the work. So Kwiatkowski comes past him and makes it back to his other breakaway contenders.
What's the difference in level for the lay viewer at home between these World Tour superstars with all the big budget teams and somebody riding for a continental team? Could you use a football analogy like an FA Cup upset or something like that, an Accrington Stanley trying to beat a Manchester United?
Yeah, it's possible, but it's easier to show your form and easier to get involved with the World Tour teams at the start of the season. If you've had a very good winter and trained hard, this is the time to do that. Once the World Tour teams get up to speed and get some more races in their legs, it's very difficult to compete with them. But at this moment in time, early season races is, if you want to upset the apple cart a little bit and get some scalps, this is the time to do it.
Kwiatkowski at the front, chasing on behind. Rinaldo Nocentini in the green, racing for Sporting Club de Portugal. That's Sporting Lisbon. And here goes Dan Martin. Martin on the attack in the blue, the Irishman for Quick-Step. Kwiatkowski's been left for dead, and only Primož Roglič can follow.
Yeah, Dan Martin knows he needs time. He cannot wait. He's not the strongest time trialist. He'll know there's some good time trialists just behind him. Wants to try and win the stage first and foremost, but he looks behind and he'll see Roglič. Roglič, a very good time trialist, a very good rider. Just finding his feet now in his second year with Lotto NL Jumbo. A big future ahead of him. And Dan Martin will really want to try and win this stage first and foremost.
Well, Dan Martin yet to take a win this season, but he's had a solid start to the year. He was 6th on the stage to Lucena on stage 4 in Valencia, 5th overall. Here, he's looking for win number 1 of the season. It will be win number 17 of what's been a brilliant career so far for the 30-year-old.
It's difficult now to see anybody getting any organised chase behind. You can just see Tony Martin starting to make an effort. I think it was Catroveieco trying again to come across. He realises now or never. Tony Gallopin is there. Also, he's got teammate Thijs Benoot. He's here, obviously training for the classics. But Roglič actually giving Dan Martin a bit of a hard time now.
Well, Roglič himself was very good in Valencia. He lost it on a couple of the stages that weren't the most difficult. In fact, he lost quite a bit of time, and he's now putting a bit of time. The half a second or so into Dan Martin, who's really got to grit his teeth here.
He does. He put in a searing attack there. Roglič was happy with it.
Dan Martin wants the motorbike out the way.
Yeah, of course he does. He's suffering. I think he'll come back, but Roglič is looking really, really strong.
Primož Roglič, who was 3rd on day 2 of his season to Denia, stage 2 in Valencia. He was 5th on the climb to Lucena. Here he leads, being chased down by Dan Martin, but also being chased down by several other riders behind. This is the group a little further down the road.
Yeah, this is Catroveieco, then Master, then Tony Martin, sorry, trying to come across, but Roglič looking behind Dan Martin, just find his breath a little bit now. He has been on the rivets, as they say, for the last few hundred metres. But this man doing another very good ride in a big race. This is the man, Antunes, who is up in the Queen stage. But Catroveieco still from Movistar trying to come across. This is the chasing group. I think it's over for the chasing group. I think it looks as if the stage is between Roglič and Dan Martin, if they work together. But Dan is a wee bit reluctant at the moment. They have to have a chat with each other. Both of them speak English. They should combine and save their efforts instead of attacking each other. Still 3 kilometres to go.
That's exactly what's happening there. You just hear Dan Martin's voice in the background.
Stop attacking me, just ride together and you know, fight out the stage. They could be losing time.
Well, they've another day to fight it out in the mountains at the end of the race as well. Stage 5, the final climb to the line. That is the one that will decide the race. It's a shorter climb, but a steeper climb, and you'd think that one that suits Dan Martin a little more than Primoz Roglic.
Yeah, on the road at the moment, we have Roglic and Dan Martin in front. Then Kwiatkowski is just hanging on. Just see him just in front. Then we've got Castro Viejo. He's just caught up with Antunes. But they have to combine together. I think that's important. I think that's what Dan is trying to say to Roglic now. They both speak good English. Just settle down, stop attacking each other. Still 3 kilometres to go, and we'll battle it out. We want to put time into the riders behind. The time trial tomorrow. He knows that Tony Martin is probably only about 20 odd seconds behind him, so both of them need some time.
Tell you what, sack that working together. I want to see a fight. We all want to see a fight for the stage win. Of course, tactically, it makes sense. It makes bike riding sense, and we're about 2.5 kilometres from the line now. There's Dan Martin in the blue. You can see the Irish colours on the right-hand side, his sleeves of the former champion. It's his turn to put the dig in now. At the moment, Roglic is able to respond, but it's a very, very powerful dig from the Irishman.
Yeah, not helping each other, not wanting to help each other, so there's no communication between them to work together. They're just going to attack. 2 kilometres to go now. All Dan is thinking about is trying to win the stage, make it 2 in a row for his team of Quick Step. But Roglic is putting himself in a great position here to try and take the overall.
2Ks to go for Kwiatkowski, who's just gone through there. He's the man a little further up the road, being chased down by Luis Leon Sanchez. In fact, that's Dario Cataldo, is it? Or is it Sanchez? There's a 2 and a 7. Cataldo's wearing 2. Luis Leon Sanchez 7. It looked like the frame of Luis Leon Sanchez to me, but we'll double check that. Certainly looks like him from the front, in fact.
I'll tell you what, Nocentini looks as if he's up there as well for the Sporting Tavira team.
There he is, just leading that last group up there in the green jersey. It is Luis Leon Sanchez.
So just at the back there in the green jersey is Nocentini, the
yellow jersey in the Tour de France.
Yeah, the old-time pro, moved now, an Italian rider, now leading Continental third division Portuguese team, but still back at the front. The battle continues inside the last 2 kilometres for Dan Martin from Ireland, riding for the Belgian Quick Step team, the Slovenian time trial champion and winner of the time trial in Giro last year, Primoz Roglic, who vaulted onto the World Tour scene last year for the first team after coming from a continental team, Adri Mobile, and doing some tremendous results, and got himself noticed by a couple of teams.
Highest points in the Algarve in the distance. Roglic on the right-hand side, the Slovenian. Dan Martin on the left. They've been attacking each other for the last couple of kilometres.
Seems to have settled down ever so slightly now, Rob. They know that they don't want anybody coming back. The stage should be between both of these riders. It is windy. You can see some of the flags in the camper vans. That's the thing that they were worried about. A lot of the branding at the top of the climb was blowing. And another attack.
And Roglic attacks on the left-hand side. It's not just the stage win, but also the race lead, and the chance to go last in the time trial tomorrow is up for grabs. Whatever happens, we're going to have a new leader, because the leader yesterday, the sprinter, Fernando Gaviria, was dropped around 20-30 kilometres further down the road. Approaching the final kilometre, Roglic's last attack there, not quite enough to shake Dan Martin, and they go under the Flamme Rouge together.
Roglic, as we said, just came to the World Tour last year after coming from a third division team. Maybe doesn't have the same experience as Dan Martin. Dan Martin very close in the wheel. He is trying to save as much energy as he can. The wind is coming from the right-hand side. T-Spinut pulls
needs to do up his jersey.
It's windy up here, and everybody's scrambling in the gutter here. Does look as if Dan Martin should have enough to possibly take this stage, but he's trying to hold that wheel. He's trying to get in the inside. Roglic hold him in the wind, but Kwiatkowski still fighting in third place.
And Kwiatkowski's thinking, of course, of the overall, thinking of tomorrow as a strong time trialist himself. Roglic wants that first win of the season. Dan Martin from this particular position has to be favourite, but Kwiatkowski is gaining all the time.
Yeah, just slightly slowing, and Kwiatkowski trying to come back, but Primoz Roglic just has to you know, press on as much as he can, but it's into a bit of a kind of head crosswind at the moment.
Slowing down, approaching the final 500 metres around this left-hand turn. It will be into the finishing straight just up the road. A few people have gathered. You've got the people who've had the day off and ridden up on their own bikes. It's a beautiful sunny afternoon as Lotto NL Jumbo, the Dutch team, Quick-Step, the Belgian team, represented by their Slovenian and Irish riders respectively. Half a kilometre to go. Roglic in the yellow. Third on this stage last year. Dan Martin making his Algarve debut in the blue just behind him. He's probably the fastest sprinter of the two.
He is, and he's right in there. He's trying to get as much shelter as possible. He's trying to save as much. He's coming up to 300 metres to go. At this point, you think that all the work by his team is going to put him in a good
nobody's
position
going to catch them here, Brian. It's between these two in the final 300 metres. Dan Martin thinks about it, and then he thinks no more. He goes. Dan Martin hits the front. Roglic just trying to stay in his slipstream and stay in the game for now. He's looking strong behind himself as well. 150 to go. It's Martin in the blue at the front. Dan Martin there. He has the beating of Primož Roglic, I think. Martin with 75 to go. Still ahead. Still uphill. The finish line in sight now. Dan Martin is there just ahead of Roglic, and it is a win. First of the 2017 season for Ireland's Dan Martin, who takes stage 2 of the Tour of the Algarve, and with it, the overall general classification lead. It's Martin from Roglic. Kwiatkowski's going to finish third. And that was a very, very entertaining stage, Brian.
It was a very equal battle between Martin and Roglic. They were attacking each other all the way up, but coming up here, Nocentini, the old man, the old Italian rider, trying to hang on.
Sporting Lisbon versus Porto here, yes. And I think Porto are going to win this one 1-0 with Antunes coming over ahead of Nocentini. There's Luis Leon Sanchez, winner last year. Castroviejo was with him, and of course it is delight for Dan Martin.
Yeah, good win there, and you know, he used a little bit of his experience there. Sanchez looks like I think Galopan and Benut is coming in now, so a lot of riders with this sheer speed of the Quick-Step team at the bottom of this climb blew any chances away for them, but a very good win for Quick-Step again with Dan Martin.
Four and 3/4 hours racing. Spilak crosses the line, but it's delight and a very, very deserved congratulations for Dan Martin, who, just like he did 12 months ago, gets his early win out of the way. No more pressure, freedom to chase bigger things as the spring goes on.
Well, extra motivation that his wife was waiting for him at the top as well.
Dan Martin, congratulated as the winner. Moser, he was one who was thought maybe desperate to hang on today, of course, because he's a good time trialist as well.
I think that might have been Tony Martin as well, losing a little bit of time. So, be interesting to see what the time gaps are back. But tell you what, Primož Roglic may have lost the stage to Dan Martin, but puts himself right in there with an opportunity to win the overall outright.
Well, bigger gaps than expected, as we saw. Remember, 25 different teams here in the Algarve. A huge, huge peloton for this type of race. And there is Alto de Folla. Luis Leon Sanchez 12 months ago. Dan Martin today. Jose Azevedo can keep his only man to win twice here record for now.
39 kilometres an hour, so just under 25 miles an hour.
Well, it was a fast start to the day, wasn't it? It was mid-40s average for the first 2 hours, and we already saw that once we came to where there was a huge, huge split in the peloton.
I tell you what, at this stage, Dan Martin had done his homework. There's possibly, just over 200 metres to go now, and he knows with a couple of bends he wanted to take it from the front. Roglic was equal to him, followed the wheel, but very difficult to choose what side to come round. 150 metres round that corner, Dan still fighting. Another corner still to come up. There's very little room and time for Roglic to come through, and hugging the barriers round the last corner, he just about hung on to win. Roglic was very close in the end. It was only a matter of about a wheel, but taking it from the front, that little bit of experience from Dan Martin won him the stage.
And my, did he enjoy it. Quick-Step take yet another win. They are unstoppable this season. Quick-Step yesterday with Gaviria having the lead as well as the win. Today, Gaviria loses the lead, but there will still be celebration at the dinner table. Dan Martin, stage and jersey, and the camisola amarela, the yellow jersey, will be on the back of the Irishman for tomorrow. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is win number 12 of the season already for Quick-Step. Nobody can get near them in terms of quality or number of victories just yet. Martin's first. And of course, with time trial opportunities tomorrow, another sprint maybe for Gaviria the day after, and another uphill finish, things could get even better. And you talked about doing his homework, Brian, using his experience. He did that fantastically well, but not to take too much away from Primož Roglič. Followed well. Remember, it's only his second season at World Tour level. What Roglič already did have coming into this sport was the mentality from elite sport, having been a high-level ski jumper. The grit, determination there, but the savvy nature of how to finish things shown off again by Dan Martin towards the end now.
Dan, congratulations on your victory. First time here in Algarve, first victory. It was a victory of teamwork.
I mean, it's always difficult to win a race when people say you're the favourite, etc. And then, but the team, they really believed in me, and you saw incredible teamwork all day. I mean, you see Fernando, he's riding in the wind for me and stuff. He's in the yellow jersey. It really was incredible teamwork. And then we rode a perfect race, and that let me win the race today.
You are the yellow jersey, but tomorrow there's a time trial. You're not the special on time trials. How do you expect to succeed?
I do my best, and we see the result. You know, it's for me it was important to win a stage this week. It's really good for the confidence for the next races. And after winning yesterday, we really had no pressure, but it's always nice to win a race. And now as a team, we have 12 victories for the season. It's we really made a strong start. But for the time trial, I mean, I worked a lot with my position, but yeah, of course, there's other guys that are stronger than me. But I won today, so we just think about that now. We enjoy the victory.
It's February, and you're already winning. This is a good signal to the classics, toward the classics, and your main goals.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm feeling good already. It's a bit of a surprise for me because I aim to be good in a few weeks. But yeah, it's a good sign, and it's always nice to win a race.
Thank you.
Manu just kept getting better and better and better. Last season, the first ever top 10 finish at the Tour de France for him. This season, he likes the look of the race again. A lot of possibilities, he says, for a close, open and aggressive race. On his road to that, stopping off at his favoured classics, he's got off to the perfect start. 5th overall in Valencia, already a stage win and a leader's jersey after just 2 days in Portugal. Right move, wasn't it, leaving Cannondale to go into Quick-Step?
Yeah.
He thinks he's now at the team, to quote his words, where he will fulfil his potential.
Yeah, well, it's a strong team, and he's got plenty of opportunities there. And, you know, it's a difficult choice, but everybody has to make a difficult choice now and again as a pro sportsman and pro cyclist. And Dan is happy. I've spoken to him a lot over the years. He supported my Braveheart Fund as well. Same with Primož Roglič. I had a lot of conversations with him over the last 2 or 3 years. In fact, I really wanted to sign him for Team Dimension Data, but unfortunately there wasn't the space, and the team owner decided that he didn't want to take a Slovenian rider that he didn't know too much about. But yeah, a class act is Primož Roglič, and taking nothing away from Dan Martin. Dan Martin just pipped him in the end, but showed his experience and showed he's on some good form.
Look forward to the battle over the next 3 days to see who will take the yellow jersey at the end of it. Lovely balanced route, this race. It's got something for everybody. We've got 2 sprint stages we expect. That was yesterday and on stage 4. 2 mountain stages, the first of which we've had. And tomorrow it's the time trial. Going into the time trial, Dan Martin will be leading. This is what's happened on stage 2. Dan Martin, winner of the stage ahead of Primož Roglič. Michał Kwiatkowski in 3rd. Amaro Antunes, brilliant result. 4th there with Rinaldo Nocentini racing for Sporting Lisbon in 5th. Luis Leon Sanchez, winner last year, 35 seconds down. Castroviejo was with him, as was Galopin. Edgar Pinto, another 3rd division team rider, in 9th with Tish Benoot, 46 seconds down. Big time gaps for a relatively easy climb. Yeah, relatively easy.
It's the speed they went up at. They knew, Dan Martin knew that if he was going to win today, he had to make it difficult at the start of the climb in the steeper parts. then when the legs were hurting, you know, they kept the pressure on the kind of easier parts. I mean, the 4, 5, 6% instead of 9.6 at the bottom. And sometimes that works, and for somebody like Tony Martin, he'd wish they didn't have the steeper part at the climb and just the power climb. But when you hurt these riders, the bigger riders at the bottom, it makes it easier to get some time gaps towards the top. But I think the wind played a certain part of the time gaps as well towards the end, because it's okay climbing and the gradient isn't so big, but see, when you get that wind blowing at the top, it becomes very difficult.
Well, the talk about Fernando Gaviria sacrificing his own race in the yellow jersey and doing great work before the camera started rolling. When they did, we saw Zdeněk Štýbar doing his best. Brilliant ride to set it up from the check at the bottom. Enric Mas did the same. But it's every man for themselves in 24 hours' time. Sagres to Sagres, 18 kilometres on the southwestern tip of Portugal, and that will be live at 4 p.m. in United Kingdom, Republic of Ireland. If you're watching on continental Europe, that is at 5 p.m. Stage 3 of the Volta al Algarve tomorrow with Brian Smith and me, Rob Hatch. To conclude, one more chance to see the winning move by Dan Martin to the line. 100 metres of a sprint between him and Primož Roglič. It's Dan Martin who takes his first win of the 2017 season. With it, the yellow jersey and the lead of the Volta al Algarve 2017. From Brian Smith, from me, Rob Hatch, and the rest of the team, we'll see you for Stage 3.